What's up and welcome to the video. We're getting to that time of year now where a lot of companies are going to start dropping some really cool tech as we kind of head into the holiday season. And while we're waiting to see what Google's going to drop, Apple has dropped some new hardware on us already. Some of it is new and kind of exciting, and some of it is a little familiar. This product right here falls into that familiar category. This is the $799 Apple Watch Ultra 2. Let's talk about it. Now I'm gonna level with you. When I first saw the keynote, I was hoping to see Apple make some changes to the Ultra 2. And if you guys remember, prior to the keynote itself, there were some leaks of a potentially black Apple Watch Ultra 2, and I was really excited for that. Keynote came and went. Ultra 2 looked exactly the same as Ultra 1. Pre-ordered it, it came in, and I confirmed it. If you look at Ultra 1 and Ultra 2, they're indistinguishable. You can't tell them apart. It's the same 49mm enclosure, flat display that's slightly raised up, bright orange action button. Even on the back of the watch, it still just says Watch Ultra, like where the watch information is engraved, it still just says Watch Ultra. It doesn't say Watch Ultra 2, looks exactly the same as last year. If you missed our YouTube short on it, we'll leave a link for you to watch. But at the end of the day, is that an excuse for a lack of innovation? Absolutely not. My guess is that if we're going to see anything different happen with the Ultra, it's probably going to be on whatever generation they bring after this. I mean, heck, even the regular Apple Watch hasn't seen a major change since like Series 4. From like 4 to 9, they all almost look exactly the same. But as I've been using the watch, I've also thought to myself, it's one of those classic, if it isn't broke, don't fix it type of situations. I loved the first generation Apple Watch Ultra, and as I'm using this, I love it as well because it feels exactly the same. I much prefer the ultra rugged look and how durable it is overall, and I think a lot of people fall into that camp too. So I think Apple was in a little bit of a situation where they didn't want to try to fix something that wasn't broken. And I will say, I wish they would have just brought a new color at the very least. Like if you're gonna do something basic, just give us a new color. But I feel like, and if the iPhone 15 Pro models are anything to say about it, Apple probably realized that if you're going to color titanium, which is very difficult to do and keep it good from a quality perspective, it's probably gonna be tough to pull that off on a watch that is marketed to be ultra rugged, ultra durable, because as soon as you start kind of dinging this watch around, hitting it around, using it for what Apple wants you to use it for, you're probably going to see some of that paint chip away. And I get it, there's probably some folks out there that think to themselves having some war marks on their Watch Ultra is gonna make it look cool. But I also get if you're someone that spends $800 on a watch and is gonna be upset once the paint starts chipping. So lots of familiarity going on here. At this point, you might be asking yourself what's new, and honestly, the biggest driver of what's new with the Ultra 2 is going to be the new chip inside, the S9 SiP, which SiP stands for System in Package. It's really weird, and I can't believe I even have to mention this, but I am grateful to see that the Ultra 2 got a new chip, because other products from other product lines did not get the latest chip this year. I'm looking at you, iPhone 15. But the S9 SiP essentially runs the show as far as new features that are available on Ultra 2. And, they kind of break down like this. So Siri can now process information on your watch in a much more faster and secure way. And as far as dictation goes, that's been improved about 25%. S9 SiP also enables precision finding. So if you need to find your phone, the UI on your watch actually looks really similar to what you'd find on an AirTag. This one is actually kind of cool and I like how it looks. And the display itself on Ultra 2 is 50% brighter, up from 2,000 nits last year to 3,000 nits this year. It is the brightest display that Apple's produced on any of their products, which it's wild that it ended up on the watch. But when you're outside, that extra brightness definitely matters, and I can attest to it works really well in direct sunlight. So I'm actually really happy to see that. And a couple of features that are coming later this year, you can ask Siri about specific health metrics, like how well you slept the night before. I'm not really sure how many people are going to use that. I don't plan on using that. And the big thing that Apple focused on at this year's keynote was the double tap feature, which has been something that's been available in the accessibility settings since, like, I believe watchOS 8, But from my understanding, this is going to be much more smoothly integrated into the software. It's going to do things like allow you to answer a phone call if your other hand is busy, respond to text messages. Nice ways to interact with the watch that should be a little more seamless. And honestly, if you're keeping an eye on the other product lines, it's really familiar with how you're supposed to interact with Vision Pro. But outside of that, the S9 SIP is kind of running the show here. But ultimately what I'm getting at is there's just not a lot new here. And the Ultra itself is in this really, at least in my opinion, it's in this really weird spot. Because here's the thing. If you had, let's say, like a series 4, 5, 6, 7, right? And then first gen Ultra drops. I feel like there were really only two camps. The camp that I fell in, which was like, I love the look of that watch. It's super rugged. It's bigger. I love big watches. It's durable. It's capable. Let's go for it. And then there was another camp that was like, that watch is way too big. That watch is way too bulky. I'm not into that. I'm just gonna stick with what is now considered like the normal Apple Watch line. And at the end of the day, if you weren't enticed to buy Ultra One, I don't necessarily think you're going to be enticed to buy Ultra 2. Like, you've probably already made your decision if this is a product line that you're interested in or not. So at the end of the day, the people who are probably going to think about upgrading to Ultra 2 the most are probably going to be previous Ultra 1 owners. And if you're thinking about spending another $800 for the very minimal upgrades that this watch comes with, I would say please at least just wait until Ultra 3 comes out. Outside of you coming up with some way to justify having to have double tap as a watch feature, I don't think there's enough here to get you to spend another $800 unless you can, by some way, sell your Gen 1 Apple Watch Ultra for another $800 and you can do a clean swap. Outside of that, I don't think any amount of money you would spend on this watch would make sense if you already own the Apple Watch Ultra 1. And hopefully with Ultra 3, we see a new color, maybe some other types of innovations that come out. But at the end of the day, I still love the Ultra itself as a product line. It's just in a little bit of a funny spot. So I'm curious to see how well this is gonna sell. But either way, if you enjoyed the video, do me a favor, hit like and subscribe down below. Leave me a comment, let me know what you think. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys very soon because we have a lot of other stuff to talk about. Peace. I'm expecting Apple to make some changes when it came to the Ultra 2. If you guys remember, prior to the keynote leaking, LOL. You're leaking?